program today. We're going to start with Mr. Eric Kirshner. He's going to bless our food, and then we'll go ahead and get through the line and get eating, and then we'll talk a little bit about the bag that's on the table. Everyone will get a bag as they leave. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll hear from our keynote speaker. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Eric and let him do our blessing.
All right, pray with me. Dear Lord, just thank you for today. Thank you for the nice weather. Thank you for all these people that were able to show up, and we could just have a good time learning more about autism and just learning different ways to help our students and our children. And Lord, we just ask you to bless this food to our bodies. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so what we can do is we can start lining up, and you can get a plate back there and go through the line. And it's Catfish on Wheels, so anything you need. We can kind of start over here, so this group can line up. And as soon as they're gone, we kind of just go down the line. All right? Thank you.
What about today's lunch? If you do want seconds, just save your plate and bring it back, and you can fill it up again. So just a note about that. Morning, welcome again. I wanted to introduce myself. I think I forgot that on the first welcome. My name is Chad Perry. And let me turn my music off again. I forget that sometimes. Sorry about that. My name is Chad Perry. I'm the Senior Director for Special Education here in Galena Park I.S.D. And again, I wanted to welcome you all here and thank you for being here, taking time out of your day to join us. Couple housekeeping items. Just back towards the back, if you go out this door to the right are the restrooms. Please, if you're still eating, continue eating. We're gonna start our program for today, but please continue eating. If you want more, there is more. Just remember just to bring your plate back up there and fill it up. So that's great. If you see these on the table, we do ask, these are one per family. If we do have extras at the end, we'll definitely give out more extras. If you have friends or family members that want these or need these. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Letso. She's our occupational therapist. She's the one that designed these, put these all together for us, and it's going to talk a little bit about the tools that are inside these little fanny packs on your table. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and then we'll come back here in a few minutes. All right.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your attention. The tools that we're going to talk about today are actually in the fanny pack, so we will be using them. Make sure you do have one per family because we're going to be exploring through them. So the first thing I've entitled this is the sensory tools to promote self-regulation. When we think about the sensory system, what comes to mind? Anybody? Senses, okay. What are some of those senses? Touch, taste, smell. Oh, I love the participation. Thank you, guys. We actually have 8 systems that we refer to as the sensory system of our body. We have the olfactory or the smell, the gustatory or the taste. We have the visual or the eyes. We have the auditory or the ears. We have the tactile or the touch. We have proprioception, which is the input that's received through the muscles and joints through movement. We have the vestibular system, which is located in the inner ear that lets us know where we are in space. And then we have the interoception that lets us know how we feel internally. When I don't feel good, those type of things. Next slide. Okay, so when we talk about the sensory system, we talk about sensory processing. We look at sensory processing as how the information goes into the body, how it's processed, how the body responds either motor-wise or behaviorally. Next slide. Okay. When we are faced with sensory challenges, we see things that don't quite look typical. A neurotypical learner, when they hear the vacuum cleaner, they just go on about their business. They hear the blender, go on about their business. An individual who suffers with sensory processing challenges may cover their ears because the sound explodes. They're eating a carrot and the crunch, they cover their ears because they're not processing that information appropriately. Individuals who have difficulty processing sensory information, it's across all settings. It's not just at home, it's not just at school. But in the school, some of the things we may see, they have difficulty with the amount of force. They want to give you a hug and they knock you down in the process. They go to do something and they tear a hole in the paper as they're coloring or erasing. They may run away when things get too much. They begin to feel overwhelmed, so they bolt or elope. They may be touchy-feely. Anything that's there, they're going to go put their hands on. They just can't control themselves because they're seeking that input, trying to regulate and meet a threshold so they can process this information into everyday experiences. When we look at what the research says, it tells us that over 90% of the children that have autism spectrum disorder have some type of sensory challenge. It also says that these children tend to demonstrate more frequent sensitivity and avoiding. So they may not want to do something, they may avoid, they may withdraw, or on the extreme end, they will seek. They're risk takers, they crash, they burn. So a thing that we want to look at the general population, there are over 20% globally that have issues processing sensory information. 5 to 15% of school-age children have challenges as well. Okay, next slide. So one thing that research has shown is that too much screen time over an extended period can permanently affect the ability to sit still and concentrate. An article published in 2021 in Psychiatry found the longer the screen time, the more severe the symptoms of I.S.D, especially sensory systems, and the more obvious the developmental delay, especially in I.S.D children who have spent more time on the screen, particularly in the language domain. So we know that when children are not allowed to experience movement through things, they're not allowed to kinesthetically experience it, the brain doesn't develop like it needs to, so the screen time is not too good. Next slide, please. So what I want you to do is stop and think about the things that I've said. As I've been presenting some of the research and the theory, some of the mind may have wondered, you may have wondered what's for dinner, you just kind of drifted. I want you to stop and think, what tools did you use as an adult with a neurotypical system to bring you back into focus? Because you need to focus, it's politically correct and polite. So what did you do? Did some of you eat? Were you chewing? Were you moving? Were you fidgeting? Think about those things and talk amongst yourselves. What did you do to help stay focused during just talk? Okay, so in a classroom, when we have children that have trouble with sensory processing, they don't have a neurotypical brain that allows them to say, I can't get up and run around the room even though that's what I need to do. So it appears that they're off task when actually what they're trying to do is feed their body. They're trying to give the body what it needs to be able to sit and attend. So one of the things that we can do as staff, as parents, we give them tools and teach them how to use the tools appropriately for the self-regulation. So I want everybody to open up your fidget fanny, open up your bag, and pull out your fidget fanny pack. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so the goal of the fidget fanny pack is we want to teach these children how to self-regulate. We want to promote that opportunity for the learner to access higher levels of functioning. As I mentioned, an individual with a neurotypical learning pattern is able to self-regulate and know what's appropriate. Our children that have autism don't pick up on context clues. They don't have that innate sense to be able to regulate their own processing. So one of the ways we can do it is through the tools. Okay, unzip your fanny pack and take the toys out. You'll notice in the school we call them tools. Yes, they're a toy, but in the school they become a tool because it's a technique or a strategy that they can use. So we're going to explore, and as you are exploring these tools, I want you to think about what system this is going to benefit. Is it going to benefit the touch system, the tactile system? Is it going to benefit the visual system? Does it help turn that visual system on and integrate what the body is seeing? What about sound, movement? Think about those things as you're exploring them. Okay, so we're going to start with the vessel that houses all of the tools. So when we pick this up, you notice it's got a little bit of weight to it, okay? This is going to register within the proprioceptive center. This goes to our muscles and our joints, so that's giving us feedback. When we wear it around our waist, especially if it's a younger kid, it's going to provide some grounding, letting them connect with the earth, know where they are. Is that better? Okay. Now, even when we zip and unzip, what do you notice? Zip and unzip. Yeah, you hear something. So there's some feedback for the auditory system. So go ahead and unzip it. Let's take out some of the stuff. Okay, did anybody actually experiment with these? Look what you can do, okay? You can twist them. You can put them on your neck. They can become a chew tool. They can become a bracelet so that they're with you all the time. This is good for oral. This is good for tactile. This is good for proprioceptive input. You will find a sensory strip. This is a sticky strip. You peel the back off and you stick it on the water bottle. This gives the kids something to fidget with when they have their water bottle. Did anybody happen to see Shark Tank when this was presented? This was actually on Shark Tank, so it was pretty cool. So once again, what do we have here? We have tactile. When attached to the water bottle, it feeds the oral system. And look how pretty it is. Look at the different colors, the gradation in it. So you've got a visual. Okay. Let's go to the popper fidget spinner. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with this, this is a spinner. Okay, so this is a great tool for the visual system. It's a great tool for muscles and joints because I can pop and develop those fine motor skills. It's visually appealing and it makes a noise. So everybody put it up by your ear and listen. Some of our children have such sensitivity to sound, they hear the hum from the fluorescent lights, or they hear the hum from the air conditioner. They hear those low vibrations. So we need to help them integrate it by giving them different sounds at different levels, loud, soft, etc. And this is just one of those little tools. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, this one is a great toy. I would never have originally thought it was a good chew toy, but you would be surprised how many of them I see the ends chewed off. So the kids will go to town on them. I originally thought they were good for the proprioceptive input, the muscles and joints, the tactile, opening and closing, okay, that body awareness, the sound. Visually, it gets short, it gets long. Okay, these are connect chains. They make little things. You put them together, and then it becomes a circle. So these are, once again, tactile, visual. They make some noise. A fidget popper, a little bitty one. Once again, tactile, visual. We have a mini magnadoodle, visual, tactile, proprioceptive. You have a little water timer. So you're trying to teach your child about self-regulation. Okay, when it gets all the way down, we're finished with that toy. So now we're going to move into the interoception. How do we regulate our own choice patterns? So you've got a little water timer. It's also a pen, so the kids can doodle and get some feedback that way. You have a chew Lego. It's tactile, it's oral, it's visual. It's also proprioceptive because that chewing gives that feedback to the muscle and joints in the mouth. that help to regulate the information being received. You have a light to draw attention, to really bring focus in. Some kids need just those parameters, so when we just shine the light on what we want them to visually attend to, it turns on visually. It's also a little push, so they have feedback going to the muscles and joints. Now you have the most important thing of all. These are communication icons. We want our children who have autism and have a communication disorder to be able to communicate basic want and needs to us. Okay, so on the ring, what we have done is provided some icons that have some of those basic wants and needs. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, restroom, I'm frustrated. Now, unless the child has been using them already, you may have to teach them. So when your child wants to eat and you know that's what he wants to do, find the eat icon and show him the eat icon, give it to him, and then ask him to give that to you, and you give him the food. So you're going to begin teaching him how to communicate those basic things. Part of interoception is being able to know what I need, when I need it, and how to communicate it. So that's what the communication ring is for. The beauty of the fanny packs is you can take it wherever you go. It can go around the waist. If you've got a little bitty kid, just tie some knots in that string and make it fit that waist. You could use it as a sling pouch, get weight in the body different ways. But it can go everywhere the child goes. You also have a handout that tells you what the systems are and what they do. And I apologize, I'm not the best Spanish speaker, so if there's some errors with my Spanish translation, please accept my apologies, I tried. But that lets you know it's kind of a quick little down and dirty, quick and easy. Okay, guys, do y'all have any questions? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for interpreting.
Good job. Thank you, Amanda. I think we got a lot of good information out of that. Please make sure that you get at least one fanny pack to take home. If we have some extras, we'll be handing out extras at the door for those of that have other children or have friends that could use this. We want to make sure that everyone that needs one gets one. So I want to introduce our next speaker. This is a good friend of mine, a colleague. She's been my boss at one point, and I consider her a great mentor. She has pretty much spent the bulk of her life working with students who she will say are at promise, right? Some say they're at risk, but she has worked with many students with a variety of different disabilities, mental health disabilities, autism, and she has done some great things. And I've watched over the years as some students have maybe kind of had their last chance, and she has helped them excel. Not just thrive, not just be successful, but just excel in many ways. And so I'd like to introduce our next keynote speaker, Dr. Ann Hughes.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good food? That always helps. As Chad said, my name is Ann Hughes. My accent is kind of crazy. I'm from Ireland, but I've been working in the United States for 36 years now, but I never lost the accent. So one of the things, when he called me and asked me to speak at an autism lunch for parents, one of the things I think about is, well, I'm not a parent, but I have had the opportunity and excitement of working with students with various disabilities for many years. I have a family here with me with two of the boys that I've worked with, and they're going to speak. I thought that'd be more interesting for you than me, and they're going to speak after me. But I feel anytime I'm in the presence of families with autism, I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness. I really do. So I'm very humbled to be here. I feel like I'm in a place of love, because I could never walk the journey that you're walking. And I know that journey is long, it's hard at some times. I've seen the lady that's going to speak after me is amazing, Angela. What I can do is give a few tips that hopefully might be helpful as you navigate and journey with your loved ones. So one of the things I do is behavior. I do lots and lots of behavior work. And as we know, sometimes our students with autism struggle with behavior. They struggle with the social cues sometimes. Sean, that's going to talk in a few minutes, he just tells it how it is. He just says what's right there, right now. And at 19, that's getting a little tougher. People thought it was cute when he was young. But most people just laugh because he's big smile on his face when he's doing it. One of the things with behavior, I had to learn, and I've learned this from families. I've learned more from families and students than I have from professionals or from college courses. And I learned to observe and I learned to listen, because everybody's journey is different. Luke Jackson, a famous writer on autism, he's Australian, he said, when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. That's how unique everyone is. One of the things I was taught, SAT is funny, one of the things I was taught was all behavior is communication. Even the most aggressive behavior is communication. And when I started to see behavior as communication, it changed the whole way that I approached it. Because the students are expressing a need. Sometimes they go into fight or flight. And what some people call that is a neurocrash. I prefer that than a meltdown. Because sometimes when we say meltdown, it almost implies that the student had control over it or that they chose to do it. But a neurocrash is when the demands of the environment overwhelm your ability, your coping skills, and your sensory system gets overloaded. I almost sat down there and played with the toys instead of speaking, but I thought Chad wouldn't go for that. So basically, when the demands of the environment overwhelm your coping skills. One of the things when we think about behavior is communication. Let me give you an example. I worked with a young lady that was 16, and she was very involved. She was nonverbal, but she would constantly get into closets, get into everything, take food all the time. She had no off switch. She would just keep eating and eating and eating. And if you tried to, intervene or help, she would hit, kick, bite, spit. And one of the things we worked with her, she'd try and run a lot. So when I have runners, what I try to do is work with them to figure out, and the parents are a big voice in the conversation, are they running to something or are they running away? Because if they're running to something, and some little ones want to run and they they think they're going to run the 7 miles home, when they run to something, we've had luck in the school system training them to run to a space, to finding a space in the school or a classroom that they like the teacher in there or someone in the office, and really working with them to run to that place. And we've had a lot of luck with that. It takes training and it takes time. Whenever we're trying to teach a new behavior to a student, we really focus on not on what we want to stop, but on what we want to start. So always looking for a replacement behavior. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it myself, we think, I want him to stop kicking. I want him to stop, talking all the time. I want him to stop. But then when we identify, what do I want him to do instead? Like I had a young guy, he's really cool. He moved from Puerto Rico. And they were displaced by the hurricane, and he moved over here, and his life has changed totally. And, he one of the things he did, he called the teacher was Miss Gloria, and he loved her. But I counted one time, he called her 87 times in 5 minutes. Miss Gloria, Miss Gloria, Miss Gloria. And one of the things we wanted to do with him, it was incessant talking, which in a mainstream class gets really wild. So one of the things we worked with him, and it sounds silly, but it's worked, we played the quiet game with him and rewarded him. We started at 15 seconds. If he could be quiet for 15 seconds, he was really into Pokemon cards, and we had a ton of old Pokemon cards. He would get a Pokemon card. Now we're up to 20 minutes, and he's proud of it. And he'll say things like, "They don't think I can be quiet, watch this." Now, I still go to see him. I work with 28 schools. I still go to see him every week, and we try to beat his record. And people look at me like I'm nuts. You're getting paid a lot of money to sit in a room and play the quiet game? But he'll try to beat his record over and over and over. So seeing behavior as communication, as trying to meet a need, and figuring out a replacement behavior that then you're going to reward. And I know a lot of people feel like I'm sick rewarding, we reward too much, we should just lay down the law and get on with it. But when we view behavior as more of a neurocrash, we realize that the kids are doing what they can at that time in that situation. And at the beginning, we may have to reward them a ton and frequently. But then over time, you can wean it off. Like he's now getting a sticker a year and a half later for 20 minutes of not talking. He started at the 30 seconds. So you shape behavior. You know, we don't change behavior overnight. My Lord, I've been on a diet for 3 years, can't you tell? I wrote down some key points. All behavior is communication, and it's a child calling for help. The other thing is behavior is a symptom of pain often. Behavior is a symptom of pain. You think about it, if your child coughs and is coughing and coughing and coughing, you're going to try and make them as comfortable as possible, and you're going to get under what's the coughing. Is it truly just allergies? Is it more serious? And what you find is that the coughing is a symptom of something underneath. So when I work with students, I like to think about this is the symptom. The behavior is the symptom. What's underneath? What are they telling me to do with pain? What are they, working with me on? Now, back to the young lady that would hit, kick, bite, kick holes in walls, etc. What we were able to teach her was the power of words. We didn't get her chatting or having long conversations. We used pictures, kind of like the ones that are on the fanny pack. But we worked with her to learn that words are powerful, because she was using behavior to meet her needs because she lacked words and lacked communication. A lot of behaviors we see are to do with inability to say, I hurt, I'm in pain, I want more, I need a break. So I love the one that says, leave me alone. I'm going to bring that to work next week. So when we see behavior as communication, it really helps us not take it personal. When I train with teachers, I give everybody a Q-tip. And they say, what's that for? And I say, well, we're going to have an earwax competition. We're going to have you, when I say go, turn to your partner, dig as much earwax as you can out of their ear, and whoever gets the most gets a prize. Now, what it's for is quit taking it personal. And I know it's different in a home environment. I don't believe I could do it. But in a school environment, a lot of times, individuals take it personal when students act out. So figuring out that behavior is communication, that we're really not that important, that they're just doing it to annoy us, that in reality, they're communicating with us, maybe they have a neurocrash, they're into fight or flight, and we want to give them tools, be it words, be it pictures, but tools so that they no longer need to resort to the explosions, the kicking, the hitting, the screaming to get their needs met. I'm thinking of one young man that came to us, and he had a horrible, horrible life situation. He had had severe abuse, and he just had a horrible situation. And when he came, he'd been homeless quite often. He had autism, and he was about 12. But when he came, he would actually fight you for food. He would eat out of the garbage. He would eat off the floor. And it was obvious that he was doing that because he was always hungry in the past. So when we understand his story, we understand his behavior. So basically what we did was we fed him all day long. We basically had a plate, and we tried this with the other young lady, and we put healthy snacks on it because he'd eat anything. And we had him know, the first thing we had to teach him before we could teach him to read, to write, to speak, was that you will never go short of food in this place. Because as long as in his head, he was thinking of survival, and he was thinking of where am I going to get my next meal, you couldn't teach him. You couldn't teach him. As you know, schedules and routines are very, very important, because a lot of our students with autism really have to know what's on first, what's on last, how much of it is there, and when am I done. Kind of like me when I go to a workshop. I want to know, okay, how long is it? When do I get to eat, and when am I done? So the same thing with our students. They need the structure, the schedule, the predictability even more than we do. So having visual schedules, I'm going to send a list, a resource list to Chad that he's going to post somewhere or get out to everyone, right, Chad? All right. So I'm going to send a resource list of some apps we found that are really good, some visual schedule stuff, some picture exchange we found that's good, writing social stories. One of the things I love with students was that I discovered magnetic paper. So you can buy it at Walmart. It only comes about 25 sheets to a box or a packet, but you can put it in any printer. So when I was teaching them letters or words, and I even used it with 10th graders on science definitions, I would print the definitions, print the letters, print whatever I was teaching, put it in a little baggie and have it on a cookie tray or and then they would match it. So the guys with the definitions would pull out the terms and match the definitions to the terms. It had a clear beginning. It had a clear end when everything was out of the baggie and on the sheet. And the biggest thing was if you made a mistake, it wasn't the end of the world. You could always switch it around. Where paper and pencil, you have to start over. But it's hands-on, and you can always switch it around. We had a lot of luck with that. Schedules, routines, and I know in a family life, because I also go into the homes and work with parents when they ask. I'm not big, a lot of people say parent training, and I prefer to say parent support, because really the parents train me. I'm not the one living in a house trying to have a family outcome, having other siblings that you have to attend to, having bills you have to pay. So it's family support if they want it and how they want it. So for example, one lady asked me to take her son grocery shopping because every time she went grocery shopping with her son, he would have a neuro crash. It was just, ridiculous, and he'd want this, he'd want that. He was putting everything in the trolley. Then she was sneaking around, putting it back. But when they got to the register, he realized the chocolate cake was missing. So one of the things I did was start taking him to tiny stores. But first I wrote, because I wasn't sure if it was the noise, if it was the lights, if it was the crowd of people. And but he seemed to like going as long as he got what he wanted. Same as us. But basically, one of the things I did was write a social story or a social narrative. And on the apps, there's a thing called Pictello that's awesome. It's an iPhone app. You can get the free version. That's what I have. And you can take photos of your child doing certain things, or take photos if you're going on a trip. Get photos and download them, and then you can write a little story that the phone will read it to them. So whenever we're changing routines or putting in new programs, or a student is transitioning to the next campus, maybe from elementary to middle school or middle school to high, I have them come with me on a visit, take photos, and develop a Pictello story together. That helps with predictability, because the world is a scary place. For an individual with autism, and for a lot of people that don't have autism, the world can be a very, very scary place. Anytime we can use choices That is very valuable. Anytime we can give them power and control, because a lot of them feel like they've no control over their world. And some people say, well, Anne, I don't want to give them a load of choices because, you know, some things they just need to do. And that's true. That's true. Some things they need to do. But I have found, instead of saying no, I take no out of the equation. But what I do is I got game. So instead of saying no, like they say, and you know, they don't want to take a bath, or they, you know, they're not ready to go to bed. Do you want to go at this time or this time? So I don't ever say, are you going to have a bath? Do you want to have a bath? It's time for a bath. Do you want to take your bath this time or this time? And over time, that begins to work, because it's choice. We all like choice in life. So I try not to say no. It's hard. It's really, really hard. So social narratives, social stories, I'll send them an app that works really well for that. One of the things I found, how many of you have seen the systems Proloquo on iPads where the students can use words to communicate? Yeah, there's some of them around on iPads, and a lot of schools use them. We use them. One of the things I discovered with the students sometimes was it was overload. And it has to be efficient. So if I walk in and I want to say, hello, Joan, on the Proloquo, because I'm going to honor their system of communication, and then they say hello back, or how are you? If it takes them more than 5 seconds to find what they need to find, then it's not efficient. So we really have to work. What I do is limit the choices at the beginning to some of the choices, the beautiful ones that they have on the fanny pack, because we want them to be able to tell us how they feel, when they need a break, and also if they're in pain. And I use only those. And then over time, you can add more, add more, add more. There's a new one called Tippy Talk that I'm doing some mess with. I'm messing a little bit with. I'm not sure if it looks pretty good. Somebody said, oh, it's Irish. I bet it's Tipsy Talk. No. There's a few movie series that I've found helpful, and I'll put this on the list. One is A Miracle of Love, about a gentleman that had autism and is now going around the world speaking about his experiences and about what helped him and what didn't help him. Because I know I've done things in the schools when I was a teacher, when I was a principal, that were helpful for students, and things that weren't, that inadvertently made the situation worse or escalated the behavior. But I had to learn and to tell the teachers to tell themselves every morning, look in the mirror, and tell themselves, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to make mistakes. The important thing is to reflect on it afterwards and think, what did I do that made the situation worse? What did I do that made the situation better? And keep changing and learning. So 37 years later, I reflect, I learn. I learned a few new things last week. And we just have to reflect and learn. But you have to give yourself, you have to allow yourself to make mistakes and allow yourself to mess up, and don't be hard on yourself. Because we all have to learn as we walk the journey. Okay. So right now, I'd like to invite Angela to speak. When I met Angela 8 years ago, 10 years ago, it's been a while. When I met Angela, one of her students, Sean, that's going to talk, was coming to our school. And when she came to our first ARD meeting, I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I can handle this woman. She was very, very nice, very polite and respectful, but she had a list of things that her kid needed. And it was kind of a little overwhelming and I didn't know what I could or couldn't do. But she's a tremendous advocate for her kids, and she's a tremendous supporter of the schools. So it's possible to fight for the kids and to also be supportive of the schools, if that makes sense. So she was one of our biggest supporters. To this day, I just said, man, this is cool. I've never seen an event like this, a luncheon and good food, and I want to do one up in Denton County now. And the first thing she said is, I'll help you. To this day, even though both her students have left our school a few weeks ago, or a few years ago, to this day, she is there for us and there for our school. So, Mama Bear, advocate extraordinaire, I'm going to have Angela Mays come up.
Thank you. Hi. Maybe. I got it. Hi. Can y'all hear me? Okay, good. So, it takes a village to raise a child is a proverb we're all familiar with. For me, it takes on a whole new meaning because we, as autism parents, have to reach out into the community and ask for assistance on a journey that we never planned to be on. For years, I was on this trip searching for help without answers, without a plan, without a diagnosis. Information wasn't as easy to find when I started my journey 15 years ago. Today, we are blessed with social media, so we can share information about our journeys with others and vice versa. This has increased our family's ability to find resources, education, and therapies. Pursuing a diagnosis for Sean started at 5 years old, even though I knew it from the time he was a baby that he was different. He hated car seats and would get car sick. He would take his clothes off as soon as I put them on. We learned that Sean had terrible anxiety. When he was 4, I tried to take him to Vacation Bible School. There were hundreds of kids, and it was very loud. As I was getting into my car, I saw this little redhead running out the door after me in a sea of children. This was very scary. He was a runner, but it was always to me, thank goodness. He had terrible separation anxiety. When he started kindergarten, the teacher was familiar with autism and suggested we get him tested. The testing came back ADHD and severe anxiety. They didn't think autism because he had good eye contact. Oh, I lost my place. Years went by and he had more sensory issues, and we took him in for testing and it came back autism level 2. With Braden, our path was different. He had an educational diagnosis from the time he was 3 because he was considered nonverbal, and he was placed in pre-K to help with his speech. It was very interesting with him because he could read at 2.5. He just couldn't have an age-appropriate conversation. He would lay on the floor and line cars up for hours. One time when he was 5, he took the fire escape map off the wall at school and drew his escape plan. His teacher was in awe of his intelligence. My path is different than yours, but we all have one thing in common: the desire for our children to be happy and successful in whatever they choose to do. My children have had many challenges. They've been taught skills that we practice so that they can adapt and be prepared. But sometimes, even with the greatest planning, we have setbacks. Special Olympics is supposed to be a safe place for our kids, where they can be celebrated for who they are. Sean had the worst meltdown after his 50-yard dash win. He came in first, but they took his gold medal and gave it to second place because he was not put into the right category. I literally had to lay on top of him to keep him from attacking the gold medal winner. Braden's setbacks usually include depression, so for us it's a matter of getting his mental health back in check with routine doctor visits and special attentions paid on meditation and self-reflection. Braden is very good at knowing his needs and knowing how to be successful. Braden is very good at knowing what he needs to do to be successful. He has difficulty with the follow-through, though. Once he climbs over that initial mountain, he soars down the hill. One thing that I've learned from my children's setbacks is that I have to trust my team. I'm not afraid to share my frustrations with them. I know that they have my children's best interests at heart. We are working together to ensure that my boys have the same opportunities as everyone else. What I've learned from their achievement is hope and the desire to keep pushing and to keep looking for a brighter future. So we all know that every child is different. Some do better mainstream, and others need a break from the large classes. My sons needed specialized care that my district couldn't provide. They needed small classes, aides in every room, and break from class, and time to grow and mature. So together we formulated a plan that would help us to see the most growth. We placed the boys in an adaptive behavior school. The program is meant to meet the child where they are at and to teach them the skills to navigate and prosper in mainstream schools. Braden changed schools first. He had depression and was very violent. He spent a week in a mental hospital at 9 years old. Excuse me. After trying to jump out of my truck on I-35 in Dallas traffic. After trying to jump out of my truck on I-35 in Dallas traffic while I was driving home from his psychiatrist appointment, I was able to grab a hold of him and call the police for help. Unfortunately, they thought he was unstable enough that they had him committed. The facility was able to get him medicated and didn't have experience with autism, so he was released, but still wasn't stable. Linda Tutt School was able to take the time to work with him on his behavior and help him while he maneuvered through his depression. Sean came to Linda Tutt during his 7th grade year. Sean had a very hard time in mainstream school because the classes were too large and too loud. He had a full-time aide because he was a runner. He also had been refusing to go to class. He was missing out on all instruction time, so he got very far behind in his classes. Linda Tutt School was able to work with him because the classes were so much smaller. He became very social and he was able to transition class to class. They both thrived and matured there. One successfully reintegrated back into mainstream while the other graduated and entered a transitional program. None of these things happened without a lot of work from our team of teachers, ABA therapists, and psychiatrists. We have learned to take things 1 minute at a time and to focus on our achievements and not our regressions. We are so blessed to still be working, growing, and maturing. I'm thankful for our progress. Today, like every day is a new adventure, a new chance to grow. Together, our village can help many children on their walk to success. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your story. Do we have 2 young men with us here that we want to hear from as well? So we've kind of taken from all the way from the principal, the interventionist, to the parent, to the student. So do y'all want to come up?
I'm going to have them introduce themselves in just a moment. I asked them, this is the 2nd conference they've spoken at. They spoke to 400 people in Houston last year. A couple of years ago. And it wasn't last year, I'm sorry, I sit corrected. Oh, the last year I was principal. Okay, you got a memory better than me. So I asked them if they'd prefer to write their own speech or prefer maybe to do like a panel with me asking some questions, but then you guys also having the opportunity to ask them questions. So they said they'd much prefer me to ask them some questions. Last night, we came down from the Dallas area, so we got to stay in a hotel and eat nice. But last night, Braden and I talked about some of the questions, and that was his preferred way. He kind of felt it was useful to talk some of the questions a little bit. Sean told me forget it, that he was just going to wing it. So you're going to have Sean winging it, and that is usually very exciting. All right. First thing I'm going to have them do is introduce themselves.
My name is Braden. I'm 16 years old, and
Whatever you want to say.
and this is my success story.
Okay.
Do I give it to Sean?
My name's
It's okay.
my name's Sean, and let me think. I'm 18, almost 19. In June I will be, and I don't know. I really just. Let's just get right into the questions.
Okay. All right, and obviously, like we do at school, if I ask a question that you're like, huh? Or you just don't want to answer, you just say pass, no questions asked. So let me ask you guys, and the two of you may want to answer a question, or you may look at each other and say, you answer that. That's fine, whatever works for you. So when did you first hear or realize that you had autism, and how did you feel about it?
I don't really remember, but my mom told me that I have autism, and I didn't know what to think of it. I just thought it was something stupid. I don't know. I didn't really care much about it.
I don't remember either.
You never stop talking.
I'm just like trying to remember stuff right now, but that's about it right now.
Okay. How was regular school when you were going through school, as much as you remember, as a younger student? Just talk to us about school, how you did at school, what you thought of school when you were at the regular school.
Wait, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I know, I'm rambling too. When you were at the regular school, when you were in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, what did you think of it? How did it go? Any story you want to tell us?
Okay. Like I said, or what my mom said, I didn't really like school. I was a complete bully too. One time, my mom said that I wrote an escape plan. I grabbed the map from the school board, tore it off, wrote my escape plan, and yeah.
I don't remember what the question was either.
How did you do at the regular school? Have you any stories from when you were younger at school? You told us a load of them last night.
Yeah, I'm still trying to like get psyched up. Let me think.
It's hard.
Yeah. Let me think of something pretty easy. Right. Thanks for the help, Mom. Let me think a little bit harder about this one. It's really, as well, I just like completely zoned out while Mom was speaking, so I'm like trying to wake up. I forgot what you said again. It was hard for me to go to class because of the noise and other stuff, like especially gym. I'm trying to think. It was just really loud and I didn't like to exercise.
So when you went to the smaller school, to the special school, what were your, just tell me about some of your experiences there, and I'll ask you more specific questions as we go. Some of the questions I'm asking are way too general. Okay.
I thought I was a tough kid, so what was a good story? Oh yeah. When someone was making fun of me or was joking around, I would try to beat them up. Did not go well at all. And like,
What happened?
I got beat up.
Dummy here.
All right, here.
I'm just completely zoning out today. Can you please just tell me the question?
Yeah, sure. Sean, what did you think of Linda Tutt School?
It was great. Let me. They let me just like do different things and stuff like that.
When you were upset, what did they let you do?
They let me just chill out and calm down.
What do you do?
How did
Calm
you
down.
get to calm down?
Sit down in a room or talk to someone in the office or something.
Tell them about your sit-ins.
Yeah, I sat down.
Famous sit-in guy.
I just like sat in the front office some days because I just didn't want to do my work. Somehow I always end up back in class though.
Somehow.
So did we use I.S.D? Did we?
No, just let me sit there for a bit to calm down.
Waited you out?
Yep.
With good conversation.
Yeah, that too. They were really good at conversing with me.
Also, there was this class called Outdoor Ed. We got to go fishing. We got to go on hikes. I loved that so much. Just wanted to say that.
What about the trips?
I don't really remember the trips.
Sean does, he said.
Here.
We had field trips like every couple months. Yeah, once a month or about every 2 weeks or so. Every 2 months or so, yeah.
For a reward for good behavior.
For a reward for good behavior and stuff.
It was also a community outing to work on social skills, to work on engagement
Yep,
within the community. What were some of the trips we went on? Do you remember?
We went to arcades, we went to zoos.
Yeah?
That's all I really remember though.
Fishing, zoos,
Ice skating?
Arcades.
Did you ever get to go ice skating?
No.
Okay. What did you learn, Sean? Was there anything the school taught you about when you're angry that you still use today?
Sorry, I'm just still trying to talk a bit better.
Okay.
That's why I'm talking monotone right now. I'm still trying to hype myself up.
Like when you're angry now, is there anything you do or that your mom can do that helps, or your brother, that helps you be less angry and calm down?
Just leave me alone for a bit. It would have really helped sometimes.
Time and space, you're right.
Yeah, just some time and space in my room. Mom's not good with that sometimes. She keeps going on and on in conversation, trying to talk to me.
Without
I was trying to.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Like is there anything you learned, like when you get anxious? When you came, were you very angry? When you first came to the school, would you have angry acting out behavior?
I learned to fake it until you make it, like maybe fake a smile, just tricks your brain to thinking that you're happy, stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, and breathing exercises.
Okay.
When you think about the best teacher you ever had, what made them the best? Like, think about a teacher you had that was awesome, and what made them awesome? What about them?
Miss Rocca, she was very sweet, and she's my first teacher, so yeah. And she spent a lot of time working with me. Yeah. Yeah.
One-on-one teaching.
Yep. One-on-one teaching.
Mine was Mr. Price. He was one of my last. He was my last social studies teacher while I was there, because I graduated last year. He was a great man. I trying to think of some words to say about him. Yeah, he did spend a lot of one-on-one time with me. He talked me out of doing a lot of stupid stuff too.
He also taught you to shop.
And he helped me do wood shop.
What did you make?
I made a whole table. Yeah, we still have that table.
Okay, so Braden, you were with us about 2 years at the school, and then it was time to reintegrate and go back to your home campus. And you did that in middle school, which is a very tough time for anybody. How did you find middle school? Did you enjoy it when you went back? Were there things that were challenges?
So at first I didn't really reintegrate that well, but when the solar eclipse happened in, I think, 2016, I wanted to go see it, but the teachers were like, only if you were did your work. I did not do my work, and I like tore up the whole classroom because I was so mad. But like, I'm better than that now, so. Oh yeah, and after that I did some band. I did eventually quit band. It's not like marching band, but like what did the band help you do then? I don't know, I just thought it was fun. It helped me learn to focus.
How's high school going for you? You're now in high school.
I like it to middle school better, but high school's doing pretty good.
Okay. And what do you want for your future? What are you working on right now?
I'm working on my whole self-improvement basically. There's a YouTuber called Hamza. He is like one of the best self-improvement channels I've ever watched. He's a little bit crude sometimes, but if you watch one of his videos, don't watch his older videos because he's learned from his mistakes. Watch his newer videos, but he does some pretty good self-improvement, like working out, meditation, eating healthy, all that good stuff. And yeah.
Okay. Sean, are there still things that you're working on today? You've come a long, long way behaviorally, like you told me yesterday, and socially. What kind of things are you still working on today? Think about last week in school.
Okay, funny story. Kind of a rude story, mean story about me last week in school. Actually, I think it was this week in school. Because I really didn't want to go. I just wanted to just wait. Didn't want to go because I was so excited to do this. I still am happy. It's just that I'm trying to wake up. I kept leaving class twice one day, once one day. I walked outside the building, looped around the whole building. Looped into the front office trying to grab my phone. Because I was worried and stuff about this trip, and I was like, I'm just really wanting to go already.
So you're still working?
Yeah, I'm still working on my anxiety and stuff.
And transition.
And transition.
What about your jobs?
Yeah, I've had a couple jobs, got fired from one. Don't want to talk about that, though.
So which one do you want to talk about?
Most recently I've been working at a coffee shop near, I guess, the DFW area, because that's where we're at. It's a single location, I think. It's called Zero or something. Zero with it's spelled Sarah but the S is like a Z.
Are they fun to work with, or?
Yeah, they're really nice.
What do they think of you?
I think I'm a nice guy. They let me off the hook whenever I almost got fired one day with just a warning. I walked ran outside, flipping off my job coach and saying the F word and you.
Thank you.
But you're working on it.
Okay, and I'd like to finish up a little with future. What would you like to be doing 5 years from now, or just anything about the future that you think about sometimes? Maybe where you want to live, do you want to have children? Anything about the future, what you want to work at?
I probably want to own a restaurant someday. I'm really good at cooking, so I think I could do it. And I don't think I'm ever gonna have children, to be honest. But
Hopefully you do. I don't know.
you never know. You never know. You never know.
Okay.
I want to be an uncle.
You want to what?
Be an uncle. I don't know. That's all I was saying.
Maybe Kyle.
Yeah, maybe Kyle first, but hey, I wouldn't mind being an uncle, that's for sure.
All right, so what else do you want to do you think?
I would like to be a stand-up comedian, or like something like repair, like mechanic or something like that. A mechanic, or like fixing computers or something.
She's really good at.
I have completely built a computer before, so I think I'm pretty qualified.
Okay.
Yeah, or a stand-up comedian if you didn't hear it. Me, I'm not really in a joking mood right now, I guess, because I'm not talking that much.
He entertained us all last night.
I'm gonna talk about some of the jokes.
No, we're not. Okay. All right. So, is there anything you'd like to say to end with? And all these amazing people here today have students or children with autism. Is there anything you'd like to leave kind of as a parting message or just say?
Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.
Is that what you're working on?
I have no clue what I want to say. Actually, I should have thought of it before grabbing the mic.
You want to make us laugh?
Sure.
Test drive a family-friendly joke.
No.
Okay, let me think of one real quick.
Oh, no.
Mom's sweating.
Yeah. Okay.
I just can't think of any right now. Sorry.
Well, I can think of one that's kind of funny. I was fortunate enough recently to be featured in the Houston Chronicle about working with mental health and some of the programs that we've started. And we were talking about it while we were waiting to talk, and I was joking with Angela. The headline was mental health expert. I said, I'm going to ride this wave. But Sean looks at me and he says, I wouldn't call you an expert. More like a journeyman. So thank you, guys. You get to stay here. Oh, you want to say something else?
Yeah.
Oh, Braden wants to say something else.
Also, that quote was not mine. It was that YouTuber Hamza's. So go watch him.
All right.
Thank you. Do y'all have any questions for these two young men? Sir.
Only I want to say thank you so much for opening my eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get his name. The one in black shirt. So what instrument did you play when you were in band?
Sean, you said you were nonverbal. At what age did you begin to talk? Oh.
Anyone else? Am I missing? Oh, okay.
At what age did you comprehend like what autism was and understand it?
Hello, good afternoon. I want to know if any of you are interested in driving or you're already driving. That was my second question. How moms feel about it?
I feel at this time, Sean is not ready. He cannot focus well enough on. I think I could be, but we have this discussion quite often, and I feel that maybe in a few years, maybe 6 years, Sean might be ready. I don't know. It really just depends on how he matures in the next few years. Because eventually, I believe he really will be able to drive. But right now, his focus is not where it needs to be safe and for him to be on the road driving. Braden, on the other hand, he's maturing a little bit faster. And I'm sorry, Sean. Maturing.
Go ahead and throw me under the bus.
We know that everybody is different, and everybody matures differently, and everybody learns things differently. So there's a possibility that yes, Braden may be driving in the next year. I'm going to actually take both of them to the school parking lot during the summer and work on some skills. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Yes, eventually they will drive. I'm positive of that.
My question is, did you ever have to deal with bullying because of your autism? And if so, what tactics or methods did you see through?
Yeah, I had to deal with some people along the past. It wasn't necessarily bullying. It wasn't necessarily bullying, but people just like walking past and saying some messed up crap. Sorry, I said C word. Anyway, I dealt with just like basically I tried to ignore it, but then it gets to me in the future, so I have to like talk to people. I don't know. I'm still working on that to this day. So, yeah, go ahead.
On the bullying, it really helps for me to be able to talk to the boys and find out exactly what's going on so that I can help get them the right kind of information on how to deal with it, whether it be ignoring the situation or like recently, unfortunately, he had several really good friends that were teasing in a friendly kind of way, but for Braden, he took it differently, so he thought he was being bullied, but it was more of a brotherly like teasing, but it went way overboard. So I actually did have to go and speak with the principals and speak with the different authorities at the school so that we could get everything under control, and he had to be separated from like the lunchroom for a while. He went to the counselor's office and ate lunch because he wasn't over the fact. His friends didn't care anymore. They were over it, but he still couldn't let it go, even though to everybody else it was more like a friendly, just teasing kind of thing, but it got to be a little bit too much for him because that's something that he's still working on, learning how to understand jokes, and that it really wasn't a bullying situation. So it helps to really talk to your kids, and if it really is a bullying situation, get the authorities involved and let them help you through it. Because the schools are really wanting to help. They don't want to see the kids being, upset at school, especially for Braden, because it does tend to turn into a depression issue if we let it go too far. So we always seek out help from like the therapists and his counselors.
Okay. I was trying to say something, but Mom was continuing on and on. I was gonna say, like, I've only been like bullied once or twice. Once that was, I think it was just like what Mom said, by like an online guy. That he just kept removing me from a group chat. I think it was just because there wasn't enough room or something. I don't know though, but hey. And the other one was just once, I think it was one kid in my school. He was just really mean to me, and only me, because I had like a kind of I still kind of talk with like a lisp. That's about it.
That was on the bus, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't on the bus, Mom. It was I forget the guy's name, but yeah. I don't want to call him out anyway.
Okay, well, like I said, one more question there. Okay.
What has helped you get through or deal with anxiety issues, episodes?
That is a hard question. But from what I've heard, meditation kind of really does help. I've tried it before. It does work, but I'm pretty new to that, so I need to do a little bit more research on that. What about what? No.
Okay.
I usually just have to like be left alone for a bit. Either that or let me think. I shouldn't be doing that in front of the mic.
Cold water helps.
Yeah, getting a drink of water or something. Just something to get away from all the noise, basically.
Listen to music.
Yeah, listening to music helps too.
Wait, do you want the mic? Okay.
Thank you for allowing us to visit with you today. It's been awesome. Hopefully he might invite us back sometime. Maybe when Sean starts his comic career. How many clubs are at night?
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. I have one other thing. I just forgot I had a few door prizes to give out. So I'm going to draw a few names off of the sign-in sheet very quickly. I'm going to go with Pablo Loza. And I'll tell you, those door prizes are back there with the young lady in the back raising her hand. David Manetos, Marrero, I'm not sure what, yep, there you go, that's it. And I think it's Andrea Arano. And Martha Martinez. And Mary Cardenas. And Herlindo Hurtado. Again, thank you all for coming to our luncheon today. And you know, it's exciting that we work here in Galena Park I.S.D. We have a lot of great teachers, a lot of great specialists, willing to support your family, willing to support your student, and making progress and success for your students. So please let us know if there's anything that we can help. We do have our specialists around. I'm here if you have any questions, but please, thank you for being here, and please take your fidget bag, and if you need an extra one, there are a few extras on the way out, okay? Take them for your friends. Thank you. Yeah.